Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Ultra Beast in the world of Pokemon Go, Blacephalon. Blacephalon is a Fire and Ghost type Pokemon that you can get by winning 5-star raids in the Western Hemisphere. Blacephalon's moveset is Incinerate, Mystical Fire, and Shadow Ball, so the moveset is amazing. Its stats, this thing is all attack. It is the highest attack stat of any Ultra League Pokemon that is not named Attack Deoxys, so it's going to output monster damage, but in exchange, be very frail. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's go Blacephalon. Hopping into the first match, picking up a bit of a tricky lead, Poliwrath versus Charizard. I'm going to stay in to start with. Unfortunately, somehow I end up one turn behind on the lead, which is definitely not ideal. Opponent baits with the Dragon Claw. I'm going to wait the turn to make sure they don't catch and fire off the Scald. Scald will be shielded. I'm looking to save switch into the Ampharos. I do not get the debuff, which means a Blast Burn will be extremely threatening, so I'm going to give the shield right back and look to continue to farm. Opponent is going to try for a Brutal Swing Catch. They are unsuccessful. I'm going to farm up to a Shadow Focus Blast. Focus Blast does a massive amount of damage to a Swampert, so we are going to see a shield from the Swampert. And this is only a Hydro Cannon, so I am going to let this through. The Hydro Cannon will connect, getting the Ampharos low, but this is a 0-15-15 Ampharos, being able to withstand the Mud Shots, make it to the Focus Blast, and knock out the Swampert. That is incredibly nice. In comes the Charizard. I'm going to send in Blacephalon immediately. Blacephalon, I'm just going to go for a one shield farm down because Blacephalon with energy is quite deadly. In the back, it's a Giratina Altered, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the Ultra League, going for the Shadow Ball. Nearly one-hit KOs a Giratina Altered. I was not joking about this thing's attack stat. It is absolutely insane. Great lead in the next match. Poliwrath into Shadow Ampharos. Opponent save switches into Golisopod, and I get to respond with the Shadow Ampharos. Ampharos building up to the back-to-back brutal swings. This is a situation where Thunder Punch would be nice. My opponent is going to end up shielding once, which probably means they're going to be double shielding and just looking to try and get rid of the Ampharos, and they are going to be able to get that farm down. I'm going to send in Blacephalon, because this way, since Incinerate sneaks, they're only going to get one move off, so they can go for the Liquidation, and now the Sandslash doesn't really have anywhere to run. In the back, it's an XL Lantern, another one of these super bulky XL Pokemon in the Ultra League, but look at the Shadow Ball right here. Shadow Ball connects. That is so much damage. I make the Mystical Fire. That's just going to be goodbye to the Lantern. Lantern is out of here. In comes the Sandslash. The Shadow Claws absolutely destroy Blacephalon, but even landing one Incinerate does so much damage. But that's the high risk, high reward with this Pokemon. The damage output is crazy, but when it goes wrong, it really goes wrong. We see a familiar lead in the next match. Poliwrath versus the Charizard. This time, I don't lose a turn, so the Scald ends up being fired off on a charge attack priority. Opponent will fire off the Blast Burn. That does significant damage. I'm going to return fire with the Scald, and same game plan as last time. Just look to save switch into the Ampharos. In comes the Ampharos. Opponent going to send in an XL Credilli. Look at the spice. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to be able to make it to a Focus Blast, and they do respect it. That is definitely a bit unfortunate for me. I was really hoping to see that Credilli get destroyed. Credilli will go for the Rock Slide since they need 2 moves. Opponent, very nice overfarm as they fire off more energy. I could have gone for a Brutal Swing there and probably should have, but in the moment I was thinking if I don't fire off energy, then it encourages them to throw sooner. So I will commit the shield as they go for the Rock Slide, continuing to farm up with Blacephalon, but due to the energy advantage, they're going to be able to force 2 shields, which is definitely not ideal. The Rock Slide is going to be shielded up. Aggressive switch into Charizard. I cannot let Charizard make a move, so I go for the Shadow Ball, and that will pick up the KO. Are they going to be sending back in Credilli? No, they're going to send in Greedent. I'm going to fire off the Mystical Fire. This does some nice chip damage, and of course, gets the guaranteed attack drop, and now I can send in the Poliwrath. I do see a path forward in this game. I should make the Icy Wind when they make their next Body Slam, and Icy Wind can put them into a range where I can Incinerate down with Blacephalon for a win. So I should be in a pretty good spot here. For the Icy Wind, and it is charge attack priority. They can knock me out with the Body Slam, but they're going to make a game-winning play. They undercharge. They get so much farm with Credilli. That is incredible win con identification by my opponent. as I had put myself in a position to win, but with the undercharge there and the farm down with Credilli, my opponent is able to flip that game on its head and take the win. We've got more spice from opponents in the next match, as I lead Poliwrath against Hisui and Decidueye. Honestly, I can't remember what grass moves this thing has. I decided to let it through. Turns out it's a Trailblaze, so now I'm going to have to deal with a boosted Hisui and Decidueye. The good news is I can set their attack right back to 0 with an Icy Wind, and then even though my energy is completely walled here on the Ampharos, I'm going to switch out because I'm expecting that Poliwrath could have value later in the match. I'm going to be firing off this Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is going to be resisted, but I just want damage on this thing. I could have potentially farmed up to a Focus Blast, but I would rather go for 2 resisted Brutal Swings because either way, both moves are going to be able to KO, but at the very least, I don't have to worry about the Focus Blast being shielded since I'm firing off 2 cheaper moves. There's a Snorlax in the back, and that's really not great for me. I'm going to be shielding up on the Poliwrath and just trying to make it to a Scald, as Scald will do some very nice damage. It's not going to be enough to knock out. This is not the Shadow Snorlax, but I just need damage on this thing to hopefully put it in farm down range for Blacephalon, and that's definitely farm down range. Okay, that is very, very fine. Body Slam is going to connect. In comes Blacephalon. They're staying in to try and get to a move. What do they have in the back? It's Giratina, and I have 1 win con. That's full sending here. Do they respect the damage? They do not! Giratina tries to call the Mystical Fire bait, and we clutch a victory from the jaws of defeat. Moving to the next match, we see a tough lead Poliwrath versus Toxicroak. Toxicroak not building up to a Sludge Bomb, instead just going to fire off the Mud Bomb, and Mud Bomb I'm not going to be shielding, so they are going to be able to land some damage. I'm going to return fire with the Scald. The Scald will deal some significant damage, but unfortunately, the 50-50 coin flip does not go my way, and I'm unable to get that debuff. Mud Bomb will pick up the KO. I'm just going to go for energy on Blacephalon. They're going to pivot into Drapion. I'm going to bank 2 Incinerates of energy and then send in my Shadow Ampharos. Now, I don't have Thunder Punch here, but my opponent, of course, does not know that, which means that they may, at least I hope they will, actually respect the damage here, and they do. They commit the shield, and that's really, really nice for me, because I have no plans of shielding the Ampharos. I'm just going to save shields for Blacephalon, because this could very well be Toxicroak plus Double Dark Poison, and in that case, they wouldn't have any fast move pressure against the Blacephalon. So now I have a massive amount of energy. My defense does get dropped, however, which is a bit of a worry. In the back, I saw the typing. I thought it was a Mandibuzz, but it's a Galarian Moltres. As you may have gathered, currently, the Ultra League is not currently available. So these are going to be practice Ultra League battles against members of my Discord. So we're going to have some meta teams, and in this case, some pretty spicy teams as well. The Galar Moltres going for the Ancient Power. I'm going to farm up here. Wait to make sure that I see the 3rd wing attack start. Go for the Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire will pick up the KO. In comes Toxicroak. It's getting incinerated down, and we take the win. Oh, great lead in the next match. The Alolan Sandslash leads are back, and this is absolutely amazing. Opponent save switches into Tapu Fini. I sent in the Ampharos, but without Thunder Punch, this is actually not a fun matchup for the Ampharos, because Tapu Fini can connect with the Nature's Madness, and I think they might be able to farm me down here. The Nature's Madness is going to connect. This will be close, but I actually get damage registration error. So instead of the Water Gun KOing, I actually get the last second Brutal Swing, but it does not KO. Oh, that is unfortunate. I do lose Switch, but the good news is Alolan Sandslash can't do a ton versus either one of my remaining 2 Pokemon. But there's a Tapu Koko in the back, and this is going to be quite problematic. I'm going to build up to the Scald, bait with the Icy Wind, because I need the guaranteed attack drop. I need to reduce the damage output from this Tapu Koko. They go for the Nature's Madness. I will commit the shield, and now I'm actually going to full send the Scald. In case they call it, I need some damage here. They end up shielding, and unfortunately, I do not get the debuff. They're firing off energy, and I have a really unfun choice to make. I decide to let it go. I can't let Blacephalon be without a shield unless I have a 1 Incinerate head start, which now I do. I'm going to shield. They go for the Thunderbolt. In comes the Sandslash. Look at the Shadow Claws. They try and go for the Ice Punch, but I win charge attack priority. That's the thing. Blacephalon is never going to be losing charge attack priority to basically anything. If they'd gone for the Nature's Madness there, I think it would have been a lot closer. I might have lost. I'm not 100% sure. But the good news is we're able to take that game. In the next match, Poliwrath versus Shadow Tentacruel. Shadow Tentacruel, honestly not the worst thing ever for Blacephalon to see as long as shields are up, because they just don't have the fast move pressure. They go for the Scald. I'm going to stay in here, hoping they throw instantly, and then I'm just going to bank the move and pivot, but my opponent makes a nice play of over-farming, because now they have the potential to reach a Scald later in the match. I'm going to save this energy, send in the Ampharos, they send in Guzzlord, and it's super good to bait this out. Guzzlord, of course, a complete wall to energy from Blacephalon, because Blacephalon, as opposed to something like Skeledirge, just doesn't have as good of coverage. They land the crunch, I'm going for the Focus Blast, and this time an opponent does not respect it, but my happiness is short-lived as in comes Greedent, and Greedent is going to be a problem for Blacephalon. A crunch will not one-shot, but it comes very close to one-shotting here. I have a move on my Poliwrath, but this is going to be tough. I'm pretty sure they have back-to-back crunches already, so I'm forced to start shielding things. If I can get a Mystical Fire debuff down, then I should be in a better spot. I am going to commit the shield as they go for yet another crunch. I farm, they try for a catch on Tentacruel, and this is going to be a really tough endgame here. I'm going to go for an undercharge. They end up shielding. I think I can do one more and then switch, but I can't. I miscount. I lost track of their energy. Blacephalon, goodbye. And Poliwrath just doesn't have enough energy to win the game, unfortunately. So there were win cons in that match, but I did wake up at like 5 a.m. to get a remote raid from England to do this. So you are seeing some definite brain fog here on the 5 a.m. plays. All right, we see a great lead in the next match, leading Poliwrath versus the Shadow for Alligator. Shadow for Alligator, I mean, I'm very happy to see this here and not on Blacephalon. They're firing off more energy, that's very okay. I can just counter them down after this, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a pivot. Opponent is going to pivot into Shadow Dragonite, and I'm going to be firing off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind will guarantee the shield, and now I can send in Ampharos. Ampharos farming up energy, trying to make it to the Brutal Swing. Opponent, perfect timing there. Firing off their move right before the Brutal Swing is reached. Dragon Claw will connect. I'm going for the Brutal Swing. And this should just be able to pick up the knockout onto the Dragonite. Dragonite double shields. And this is actually kind of nice. The fact that they double shielded, I now have an ability to land a nuke move with Blacephalon, which we know does way too much damage already. So I will go for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is going to be able to pick up the knockout onto Dragonite. Shields down is really good for Blacephalon, at least when the opponent shields are down. They send in Tapu Koko, and this could get interesting. Tapu Koko can debuff me with the Nature's Madness here, or they can go for the Thunderbolt. I commit the shield, they go for the Thunderbolt. They send in for Alligator. Look at the Shadow Claws. Oh my goodness, this thing, it is absurdly frail. Mystical Fire picks up the KO. In comes the Tapu Koko. I make it to the Shadow Ball. In hindsight, I could have just gone for the Mystical Fire, but either way, we are able to knock out the Tapu Koko and take the win. We've got a mirror Poliwrath versus Shadow Poliwrath, but my opponent is running Mudshot. Mudshot Poliwrath in the Ultra League has definitely seen a large increase in usage at high elo, just because people are really valuing the pacing more than anything. And there, I under-tapped the Scald just for the opponent to make a beautiful catch onto Skeledirge and get the Incinerate through as well. Oh, that is extremely painful to watch back. You hate to see it. I'm going to be firing off the Brutal Swing. Normally, Shadow Ampharos is a great matchup for the Skeledirge, but giving them 20 free energy means that I get outpaced, and I end up losing a ton of HP. Poliwrath is going to look for the Mudshot farm down. I'm not able to make the Focus Blast, and they're not going to respect the Brutal Swing. I'm going to send back in the Poliwrath. They can fire off the Scald, and then it's going to all come down to what they have in the back here. And they have a Charizard, and this is unfortunately just going to be game over for me. Even though I do still have Blacephalon, I don't really see a way where I can win this, just due to the fact that Blacephalon is glassy and down on energy. And this is kind of the downside of Blacephalon. Like, we've seen Blacephalon pull off some insane sweeps, but look at, those are debuffed wing attacks, by the way. Debuffed wing attacks took a third of its HP. I'm forced to shield because I need to apply a Mystical Fire debuff to put them at -2, but now they can just go for a Blast Burn. And even though this is resisted, and I've debuffed their attack 2 stages, it's still gonna KO. So Blacephalon, when used carefully, can look so powerful, but you have to be so careful using this Mon. Hopping into the final match, leading Poliwrath versus the Dragonite. Dragonite, honestly surprised me by not throwing right away. Typically, as the Dragonite, you do want to throw your energy as soon as possible. I mean, still on good timing, but that way so you can get damage off before the debuff, and the opponent ends up not throwing their moves again. Maybe was thinking about trying to catch, but unfortunately, they don't do that, and now their energy is double debuffed, so I'm never going to be shielding. So typically, as the Dragonite, you do want to try and throw your move sooner. They go for the harder hitting superpower, but that does not allow them to farm down, so they're forced to go for another move. So far, this lead matchup has started off amazingly for me. I'm just going to send in the Ampharos, because again, if you can get your opponent's shields down, Blacephalon is going to do damage onto just about anything. Dragon Claw will connect, I get a farm down, I exit with a ton of energy, in comes Skuntank, and I don't think the Skuntank is going to be here for very long. I can go for the Focus Blast, pick up the KO, in the back, it's Jellicent, and I kept this battle in for one reason, and one reason only. XL Jellicent. It's so bulky. Ever want to see a Jellicent disappear? There we go, Shadow Ball, one hit KO, and that's game over. All in all, I had a ton of fun getting to try out Blacephalon, although my goodness, this thing is incredibly frail. Oh my word. I'm really happy that they did this Pokemon justice in terms of its moveset. Incinerate, Mystical Fire, Shadow Ball is an amazing moveset, and that means that even for a Pokemon this frail, it's going to have some spice play. Due to how frail it is, it's not going to be like a top meta Pokemon or anything like that, but I can definitely see skill trainers being able to use this Pokemon and get some incredibly fun wins with it. Because even though it's extremely high risk with how glassy it is, the sweeping potential it's going to have with that high of an attack stat is going to be absolutely crazy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.